Eventually you'll probably tire of just viewing binary files and actually want to make some changes. First you need to open a file, and don't turn on the open as read-only file, and you'll also not normally open a file shareable unless you need to. That is only if another program needs to access the file while you're changing it. Even though we didn't open the file read-only, we can still disallow editing using this button. This is a per window setting. We can have more than one window open on the same file, each with different settings. So if I open a new window, I'll just tile those vertically, and you can see that this setting is like per window. If you try to edit in a read-only window, HexEdit will ask you if you want to continue. So if I try and type some data in there, so I'll cancel that. But if I go to the other window where I can edit, so I'll just close that now and undo those changes. The other important mode in your editing is insert mode. Most binary files will be completely messed up if you just insert or delete bytes anywhere in the file. So HexEdit defaults to overtype mode, but it still allows you to go into insert mode if you know what you're doing. You can toggle between insert and overtype mode just by using the insert key. In overtype mode, any changes you make overwrite the current data, like this. If you backspace, bytes are filled with nulls. But if you backspace in the character area, the bytes are filled with spaces. Of course, it's in EBCDIC spaces if you're in EBCDIC mode. The status of these modes is always displayed in the status bar, but because I've made this window small for the demo, you can't see the pane, so I'll just make it a bit wider now. This is the read-only and read-write pane, which you can actually toggle just by double-clicking, and the overwrite and insert mode. I'll just make that smaller again. Now there's also a toolbar called the Edit bar, which has some relevant buttons. I'll go into most of these buttons in more detail in later videos, but you may as well have a quick look at now. The first three are to do with editing this search backward and search forward, where we'll repeat the last search, and the search tool. Now the search tool lets you quickly search for bytes as hex, so if I just type ODOA into there, which is carriage return line feed, and press enter, it finds the next occurrence of the carriage return followed by line feed. You can also search for text by typing equals followed by some characters. So if I go, say FOR, hit enter, and it shows the next occurrence of the FOR text characters. If you want to do a case insensitive search, you can proceed the search with the tilde. So if I go tilde FOR, it also finds the uppercase version as well as the lowercase f. There's also a history of your recent searches in this drop down list, so you can go and select the previous one. Also, you might have noticed that HexEdit has automatically highlighted with a green background all the occurrences of this search string in the whole file. This toolbar pane down here actually shows there's 148 carriage return line feeds in this file. These are a bit distracting at the moment, so I'll just turn them off by searching for something that won't be found. Now next on the edit bar we have these two drop down lists, which are the hex and decimal jump tools, you can just enter a value into either of them and press enter to jump straight to an address. So if you just enter 3F and press return, the cursor's gone straight to address 3F. Another cool feature is that as you move the cursor around, the tools update to show the current cursor address. And also, if you enter an address into one tool, you can see that the corresponding value is shown in the other tool, which is quite useful as a base conversion tool. In fact, you can enter any expression into these tools based on C language type expressions, and you can even do assignments. So if I do something like root equals 1 shifted 3 bits, that takes me straight to address 8, and then I can just add use that in another the value root in another expression. Say root times 2 plus 10. Next to the jump tools, we have the mark button and the jump to mark. Now the mark is used in a lot of ways in HexEdit. It's shown with this light blue background here. If you want to move it, you can just click on the mark position button, or you can actually just double click or right click and select mark position, and then you can later return to that position. There are manifold uses for it, which I'll talk about in the next video actually. The other two buttons on the edit bar are to do with highlighting, which I think I've covered in an earlier video. There's also one more button on the edit bar which you can't actually see. I'll just make this, that's better. This turns on change tracking, which allows you to see which bytes have been overwritten and which have been inserted and deleted. Change bytes are shown underlined. And if I select these bytes and delete them, it's now in insertion mode. So I've deleted 3 bytes, and I can insert Note that change tracking does not keep track of how the changes are made, just shows how the changes in memory differ from the file on disk. So if you delete 3 bytes and then you insert 3 more bytes, it's just going to show them as if they've been replaced. A couple more quick things. First is this button, the keep same time button on the standard toolbar, which says that the file is saved after you've made changes, to keep the same file modification and access times as before you edited the file. This is useful in situations where you don't want other software or other people to know that you've modified the file. Also on the status bar, there's another pane here which toggles between big endian and little endian mode. Now, this is only important when you're actually using the calculator or commands on the operations menu to actually modify the file. There's a lot more to editing files than this. For example, we haven't even talked about selecting with the mouse or the keyboard and copying and pasting to the clipboard, which we'll cover shortly.